What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to cover two different topics, one of which is breaking news that has to do with the Seoul Dynasty making a minor roster change, and the other has to do with some of the future homestands that are going to happen in the 2020 season, as well as some other schedule news and a few other things. We'll talk about it. Let's begin by discussing the Seoul Dynasty news thing, because this could affect their team moving forward into Stage 4. So, late last night or early this morning, depending on how you look at it, at about 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Seoul Dynasty made a roster change announcement on their Twitter. Here's what they had to say, and I quote, "Hello, this is Seoul Dynasty. We are here to announce that Munchkin will be moved to the inactive roster for the upcoming Overwatch League 2019 Stage 4. The decision was mutually agreed between Munchkin and the team. Munchkin will take a break and wrap up the season in Korea. #RoarOn. As you can see from the short little blurb, it would seem that both the Seoul Dynasty and Munchkin agreed that it would be in his best interest to take a little break during Stage 4 and just chill out in Korea and recuperate. There's no official information either on Munchkin's Twitter or on the Dynasty's Twitter that would tell you why exactly Munchkin wanted to take a break, but I think the answer is pretty obvious. In my opinion, the most logical way to explain this is that Munchkin simply burnt out. I feel that this reasoning makes a lot of sense because players in the past have done the same exact thing in the Overwatch League. Look at what happened last year with Pine. I know that he was also suffering from depression, but I'm sure part of the reason why he was feeling so down was because of the fact that the game was starting to burn him out. The Seoul Dynasty and Munchkin definitely made the right decision here. Continuing to play while you're burnt out is not good for your mental health at all. If he continued to play while not in the best of mental states, it would only bring the rest of his team down. Don't get me wrong though, Munchkin's reasoning behind taking a break could go beyond just being burnt out. There could be some sort of other mental health issue that he's suffering from, or perhaps there's another personal issue that we don't know about. Regardless of the reasoning, the Seoul Dynasty will be without Munchkin for all of Stage 4, and honestly, I think this is a pretty big blow for them. I've never believed that Munchkin was super talented, I've never been a big fan of the guy, but based off of everything I've heard, he is one of the main team leaders and shot callers for Seoul. With a 2-2-2 Rollock on the horizon, somebody else on the Seoul Dynasty is going to have to step up if a tracer is needed, because I'm pretty sure Munchkin is the #1 tracer on his team. Last year for Seoul, whenever Fleta was playing Projectile, Munchkin was usually on some sort of hit scan DPS, whether it be Widow or Tracer, maybe even McCree, but now that he's not there, either Fitz or Illicit is going to have to step it up, or perhaps Fleta takes on more of a hit scan role this time around. Regardless though, I definitely believe that somebody on this team is going to have to pick up the slack. If you're a big fan of Munchkin, I wouldn't be too concerned about his return. I'm sure he's going to be back in the United States by the time Stage 4 ends, and he'll be ready to assist his team in the overall playoffs, whether his team makes top 6 or they have to fight in the play-in tournament. Regardless, I think he will be back and ready to help. One final thing that I wanted to say before moving on to topic number 2 of the video is get well soon, Munchkin. Please just take your time, rest, relax, do whatever you gotta do to get back into a better mental state, and then come back and help your team win some games in the playoffs. Okay, moving on to topic number 2 of this video, let's discuss some of the most recent news that the Overwatch League revealed regarding the 2020 season. Yesterday on their website, the Overwatch League posted a very interesting article regarding some major changes coming into 2020. I will be sure to leave a link to it in the description if you want to read it for yourself, but if reading is not your strong suit or you just don't enjoy reading in general, then listen up because there is some really interesting news that we have to read off and discuss. Let's begin by reading off a short blurb that has to do with division changes. Okay, here we go. With the final stage of the 2019 Overwatch League season on the horizon, we are drawing ever closer to 2020. Next year will be the season of homecomings, with matches breaking away from Los Angeles and playing out at home venues across the globe. When we launched the league, we divided the teams into Atlantic and Pacific divisions to prepare for this evolution. In 2020, we are bringing the Overwatch League to the hometown fans and showcasing our amazing players around the globe. But we need to be mindful of the challenges of team travel. To that end, the Pacific and Atlantic divisions will now become the Pacific and Atlantic conferences and further split into 4 divisions: Atlantic North, Atlantic South, Pacific East, and Pacific West. It would seem that the Overwatch League are moving more in a direction that's kind of like normal sports, kind of like the NFL for an example, where you have 2 conferences, then multiple divisions. So in the Overwatch League, you have the Pacific and Atlantic conferences, and then you have 4 divisions being the Atlantic North, Atlantic South, Pacific East, and Pacific West. In regards to who makes each division and each conference, well, I'm going to put it all up on the screen, but let's start off with the Atlantic stuff first. So in the Atlantic Conference, you're going to have the Boston Uprising, London Spitfire, NYXL, Paris Eternal, and Toronto Defiant play in the North Division. Then in the South Division, you'll have the Atlanta Reign, Florida Mayhem, Houston Outlaws, Philadelphia Fusion, and Washington Justice. In the Pacific Conference, you will have the Chengdu Hunters, Guangzhou Charge, Hangzhou Spark, Shanghai Dragons, and Seoul Dynasty all play in the East Division, which shouldn't really come as much of a surprise because they're all in that Asia area. Then in the West Division, you have the Dallas Fuel, Los Angeles Valiant, Los Angeles Gladiators, San Francisco Shock, and Vancouver Titans. So how do you guys feel about these conferences and divisions? Make sure to let me know down in the comment section. And question of the day, which division, in your opinion, is looking the strongest? If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Western Division in the Pacific Conference. I know the Dallas Fuel aren't amazing, but the Valiant, Gladiators, Shock, and Titans all being in the same division sounds very interesting. But let's move on now because there is some more interesting information that they revealed. So now we're going to talk about scheduling. Here we go. Since 2017, Blizzard Arena Los Angeles has been the epicenter of our story. Next year, our global league is going home, actually to many homes, with 52 homestand weekend events hosted at venues across the world. Each team will host 2 homestands. On top of those, teams in each division will also collectively host 3 additional regular season events in their home territories. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this is a fantastic change. 52 homestand weekend events across the world in 2020. And if you were worried that maybe your team wouldn't get a homestand weekend, that's not the case at all because every team gets 2 bare minimum. It's also really cool that we're getting additional homestands for some teams. And if you're wondering which ones exactly, well, in the Atlantic Conference, I could not find which teams are getting more homestands. But in the Pacific Conference, we know that the Guangzhou Charge and Dallas Fuel are both getting 5 homestands. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling here because there's some other interesting information we have yet to talk about regarding the scheduling. Here we go, and I quote, "The 2020 season will begin in February next year and conclude in August. Teams will play 28 matches over the course of the regular season, facing in-conference opponents twice each and out-of-conference opponents teams once each. All regular season matches will be played on weekends with times optimized for local markets." Okay, pause. This is a lot to take in. So first off, it would seem that 2020 is going to be structured in a very similar way to 2019, where the regular season stretches from February to August, and then each team plays 28 games, facing in-conference opponents twice and out-of-conference opponents once. But the big thing to get out of this is that every single regular season match is going to be played on weekends. I repeat, all regular season matches will be played on Saturday and Sunday. There's no more Thursday or Friday games coming into 2020. The article then goes on to say that the full 2020 schedule is going to be released next month, with tickets going on sale shortly after. That is pretty wild. We're going to know the entire schedule for 2020 before this year even ends. Like, that is just amazing. I am very excited. There's one other major change coming into 2020 that we have to discuss. And I quote, "Due to travel and scheduling requirements, the 2020 season will no longer be split into stages, but we will have an awesome mid-season All-Stars event. This means we will have Overwatch League matches every week of the season. But don't worry, teams will have time to rest in their designated bye weeks, which will differ from team to team." There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Stages no longer exist, which means that teams are not going to get extra bonus cash for winning the stage title, and it also means that the Shanghai Dragons were the final team to win a stage championship. It's also really cool that the 2020 regular season is going to have no off weeks whatsoever. It's really cool that we're not going to have to sit here for a week after a stage ends anymore because, as I said before, stages are no longer a thing. It's not a thing you have to worry about. And we don't have to feel concerned about players' mental health either because every single team is going to have bye weeks here and there depending on when they show up on their schedule. And of course, at the end of the article, they make it clear that there's still going to be a really big tournament and a grand finals at the end of the year. So yeah, there you go. That's all the information I have for you regarding the Overwatch League 2020 season as of right now. And all I have to say is that all of this is very interesting and I welcome all of these changes with open arms. I also recommend following the Overwatch League and what they announced closely because they did say that they are going to announce some more new things in the future, so you definitely don't want to miss out on any of that. Well, that's pretty much everything I've got for you guys today. So if you did enjoy this content, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.